What kind of man sells a woman at public auction as if she were cattle, offering quality guarantee based on how many days she can survive without food? Who develops a system of rotating ownership where captured women are distributed among crews like collective use equipment? What class of predator transforms kidnapping into organized industry that feeds slave markets across 3 continents? Imagine that you grew up believing that pirates were romantic sea adventurers, charming rebels who fought against tyranny with swords and pistols. Imagine that your vision of piracy comes from Hollywood movies, adventure books, and theme parks that transformed brutal criminals into sympathetic heroes. Now imagine discovering that the reality about what pirates did with captured women is so horrible that historical records were deliberately hidden. The truth about the fate of women in the hands of pirates will forever destroy any romanticization of the golden age of piracy. And what I will reveal here is documented in navigation diaries, colonial court records, and survivor accounts from those who managed to escape. We are talking about the Caribbean between 1650 and 1730, when pirate fleets controlled entire commercial routes and operated as independent criminal states. When pirate ships captured vessels with women aboard, they were not just committing robbery. They were supplying a human trafficking system. And the captured women were not treated as prisoners of war or hostages for ransom. They were classified as living merchandise, cataloged by age, appearance, and potential utility, and distributed through commercial networks from Port Royal to the slave markets of Charleston. When you think of pirates, you probably imagine figures like Jack Sparrow drinking rum and singing maritime songs. The reality was men like Edward Thatch, Blackbeard, who kept detailed records of captured women organized as commercial inventory, including age, origin, physical conditions, and estimated sale price. Pirate ships were not just war vessels. They were floating prisons where kidnapped women spent weeks or months in conditions that made slave ship holds seem luxurious. And what happened during these forced voyages went far beyond simple captivity. Pirate captains developed specific systems, methods that combined commercial efficiency with systematic sadism. They did not keep prisoners out of whim or impulsive lust. They kept them because they discovered that women were the most profitable merchandise they could steal from the seas. But this was just the beginning. What you will discover about the pirate codes that regulated the treatment of captured women, about the auction systems that transformed human beings into commercial products, and about the specific fate reserved for those who tried to resist, will reveal that piracy was not romantic adventure. It was terror industry fed by female suffering. Bartholomew Roberts, known as Black Bart, created in 1719 the most detailed pirate code ever documented, with 11 articles that regulated life aboard pirate ships. Article 8 specifically established how captured women should be distributed among the crew according to rank and contribution to capture success. They were not considered people, but part of the spoils of war to be divided mathematically. The system functioned with commercial precision. Captains kept 40% of captured women, first mates 25%, officers 20%, and the remaining 15% were distributed among common sailors through lottery. Women were literally numbered and catalogued. Edward Thatch, Blackbeard, perfected this system operating from Nassau between 1716 and 1718. His personal records, discovered after his death, reveal that he kept details of 127 captured women over 2 years, including age, origin, state of preservation, and final sale price. Blackbeard did not keep women aboard for personal pleasure. He had calculated that a young woman in good condition was worth between 50 and 200 pieces of eight, more than the value of rum and supplies to maintain his crew for 3 months. It was pure mathematics applied to human suffering, but this was just the beginning. What really differentiated Caribbean piracy was its integration with legal slave markets. Pirates did not operate in isolation. They maintained direct commercial partnerships with sugar planters, colonial merchants, and even government authorities. Henry Morgan established in Port Royal a system that functioned like a human stock exchange. Women captured by different pirate crews, were taken to specific warehouses where they were prepared for sale, a process that included forced cleaning, controlled feeding to improve appearance. Charles Vane created the concept of temporary ownership for women who were not immediately sold. They were rented to crews for specific periods, usually 1 week per man, with prices varying according to demand. The system generated constant income even without recent captures. Calico Jack, Rackham's code included specific punishments for women who tried to resist or flee. First escape attempt resulted in face branding with hot iron. Second attempt resulted in finger amputation to make the person inadequate for fine domestic work. Third attempt resulted in public death to serve as an example. Samuel Bellamy operated what he called the renewal system. Women were kept only while they remained commercially viable. When age, disease, or psychological trauma reduced their market value, they were discarded on deserted islands. Jean Lafitte established in Barataria Bay an operation that processed more than 300 women per year, functioning as a distribution center for the entire Gulf of Mexico. His facilities included dormitories segregated by category, preparation areas, and specific docks for shipping human merchandise to different destinations. And what happened during this commercial preparation process transcended any civilized concept about treatment of prisoners of war. The commercial preparation process developed by Caribbean pirates transformed kidnapping into applied science. Captured women were subjected to systematic procedures designed to maximize commercial value while completely breaking their psychological resistance. François L'Olonnais established in Tortuga a facility that functioned as a human domestication school. Women were subjected to 16-hour daily routines that combined forced labor, sleep deprivation, and a punishment system that escalated gradually. The classification system used by pirates divided women into specific commercial categories: domestics for household work, plantation for heavy agricultural work, entertainment for taverns and brothels, and discard for those considered inadequate for any commercial use. Rock Brasiliano developed conditioning techniques that transformed trauma into obedience. Women were exposed to controlled cycles: terror and relief, hunger and feeding, isolation and human contact, until they developed total psychological dependence on their captors. It was a primitive form of brainwashing that worked with terrible effectiveness. And this was not the worst part. The most disturbing aspect of the pirate system was its entertainment component for crews. Captains organized what they called morale parties, where captive women were forced to participate in public spectacles designed to humiliate and degrade. William Kidd kept detailed records of these events, documenting that women subjected to multiple parties completely lost the capacity for resistance. The rotating auction system created by Stade Bonnet allowed buyers to test women before final purchase. Potential buyers could keep women for up to 1 week to evaluate suitability before deciding on purchase. Christopher Condent established productivity quotas for women forced to work in pirate ship maintenance. The fate of women who became pregnant during captivity was particularly brutal. Pirates had calculated that pregnancy significantly reduced commercial value. Colonial court records document that mortality rates for pregnant women in pirate captivity reached 90%. Some captains, like Thomas Tew, specialized in capturing young women from wealthy families specifically for training. But all these practices were just preparation for the true horror: the discovery that pirates did not operate independently, but as part of an international commercial system that connected Caribbean kidnapping with slave markets in North America, Europe, and Africa. The final truth about what pirates did with captured women goes beyond any individual brutality. Recent discoveries in British, Spanish, and French colonial archives reveal that pirates did not operate as independent criminals. They functioned as official outsourcers for European governments, operating the largest human trafficking system in the Americas. Sir Henry Morgan was not just a pirate. He was official lieutenant governor of Jamaica, while operating kidnapping networks. His reports to London document human acquisitions as an official line of colonial budget. The French governor of Martinique, Jacques Diel du Parquet, maintained formal contracts with pirate captains, establishing monthly quotas of female acquisitions. The Catholic Church not only knew about these operations but participated directly in the profits. Vatican records show that convents in Santo Domingo and Havana received regular donations from pirates in exchange for silence about the origins of women workers. But the most shocking revelation is about the final destination. They were not sold only in the Caribbean. There was a commercial route that connected Caribbean piracy with slave markets in London, Amsterdam, Lisbon, and even Constantinople. Thomas Phillips documented in his diaries that he transported more than 2,300 women captured by pirates to European ports. They were sold in private auctions organized in houses of nobility members, with prices reaching £500 sterling. The system was so institutionalized that there were specific insurance policies for female human merchandise. Lloyd's of London, still today the world's largest maritime insurer, began its business insuring cargoes of kidnapped women. When the golden age of piracy officially ended in 1730, it was not because governments repressed criminals. It was because the system had evolved into more efficient forms of human trafficking through regular slave ships and direct contracts with African traffickers. Pirates had served as a laboratory to develop techniques that would later be applied on an industrial scale. The horrible truth about what pirates did with captured women is that they created the prototypes of human trafficking methods. Capture, processing, conditioning, and sale techniques developed by Caribbean pirates were systematized and applied to transatlantic slave trade. Pirates were not romantic rebels fighting against the system. They were agents of the system, outsourced to develop and test dehumanization methods. And they functioned exactly as planned, generating profits that financed European capitalism growth and shaped modern global economy. The next time you see a romanticization of pirates in movies or books, remember, you are seeing propaganda created to hide some of the most systematic crimes in human history.